Welcome, welcome. This is Best MMA Picks, and I am your host JD. And we are getting ready to break down UFC on Fight Pass, UFC Fight Night London. Anderson Silva versus Michael Bisping, which is going to be taking place this Saturday in London. Kind of at a weird time, not what we're used to here in the United States. Prelims starting at 9:45 a.m. And I'm actually going to have commitments at that time, so I won't be viewing a lot of the prelims. But definitely excited to see some of the main card fights. Wish I could be around for the prelims, but I am going to be handicapping, breaking down these fights, regardless, and possibly posting a couple plays on prelims as well. So coming off of kind of a really bad card. Very unusual card. A lot of underdogs that were cashing, and just a lot of weird stuff that shouldn't have happened. Um, I took a little break to kind of regroup and just kind of get my mind straight. Um, and we don't like those kind of losses, so we're going to really try hard. It looks like this card's going to be much better. A lot of opportunities here, a lot of solid picks, in my opinion. And we're going to spend some extra time reviewing footage. And I have already reviewed a lot of footage on a lot of these fighters, but I still want to do a little bit more research on some of them. So I will be completely honest about fights that I'm not 100% confident on. So with that being said, let's get down to business. We have a lot to cover here, and I'm going to try to just fly through things as quickly as I can. Before you do anything, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting subscribe at the bottom, at the very least. That way you're updated when we do release new videos. And then the other thing that I want you to do is just go ahead and add, if you don't have Twitter, make sure that you download Twitter. It's what we use to post all our plays live during fight cards. And, go to twitter.com/best MMA picks, all one word. Make sure you add us and follow us, because we will be posting all of our live plays there. All right, so let's just get down to business here. Starting off, it looks like this whole card is just kind of grouped together as Fight Pass. We don't have any, prelims. It looks like there's prelims, but they don't have them separated out. So starting off the card, we start with David Teemer and Martin Svensson, both Swedish fighters. David Teemer 3-1, Martin Svensson being 14-5, having a couple more professional bouts underneath his belt. From what I understand with these two guys, I have seen some footage on Teemer, particularly some of the TUF European fights, and I was particularly impressed with Teemer's ability, his striking ability, just his tenacity, and just overall his heart, the heart that he shows, and the aggressiveness. Svensson is definitely an experienced fighter as well, more of a rounded mixed martial artist. Actually, he's more of a submission specialist than anything. Tends to try to get guys to the ground. The big thing with Svensson that I wasn't super impressed with, he just kind of seems to me like, from some of his older footage. Now, I haven't seen a whole lot of his newer footage. There's not a ton out there, but there are some videos out on YouTube and whatnot. With Svensson, I'm just not sold on the guy. And Teemer, I like his ability to be able to stuff the takedown and keep things on the feet, and get himself out of bad situations from his experience on Ultimate Fighter. So my pick for here is to go with David Teemer to defeat Martin Svensson by TKO. I think he's going to have a huge advantage on the feet. It's a classic striker versus grappler matchup. Moving on, we have Teemu Packalén, a Finnish fighter, submission specialist, and Thibaut Goudy, a French fighter, that was also on Ultimate Fighter. Goudy is a 11-0 with a lone loss coming in TUF to David Teemer, which was a very close majority decision loss. He has a 78-inch reach advantage. He's a striker. Goudy's a striker. He has 6 submission wins, 3 by TKO, and 7 first-round finishes. He lost, that majority decision to David Teemer, which probably and hopefully is a good loss for him because it actually doesn't hit his professional record. But I'm sure he learned a lot from that experience and, made improvements with his game. Parke has an extensive background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's actually a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He trains out of Finland in Turku, and he's mainly had most of his wins by submission. He's a former hockey player. He started grappling, and then he became the ADCC Finnish champ. He has a couple of advantages in this fight. Mainly, his long body makes it really gives him a lot more leverage during his grappling and rolling. And he also has very tall. He's 6'1" for a lightweight. That's pretty tall. He has some issues with his offensive grappling. He doesn't get very deep on his double leg takedowns. He has good reversals and he has good guard passing. He does have good trips and good solid ground and pound when he actually is able to get top control. And he's actually a very smart fighter for the most part. Now, his last fight, he had issues with some cardio. He's getting a lot of his takedown stuff, and he was just he could have won the last fight that he had, which he made some mistakes in that fight. Particularly, he was sitting on his ass, trying to lure trying to lure his opponent into his guard. That's just not going to look good in the judge's eyes. And so hopefully he's not going to actually do that this time around and make an adjustment there. That fight was against Michael LeBeau, where he actually was able to take him down. And when he did take him down, he was able to get good position with his grappling. He was actually winning that fight. But, he was kind of screwing around with his guard, trying to lure into his guard, and just it did not look good on the television. It didn't look good in front of the judges. So hopefully, he does something different here. But I just feel like Gowdy is going to get the better of him here, and I consider Parke to be a good fighter, but I think he's still got a lot of areas to improve in. I don't see him getting the better on the feet here. I do see him having an advantage on the ground, but I do feel that Gowdy is probably the better fighter here. And so I'm going with my pick to be Thibaut Gowdy to defeat Teemu Parke by TKO. Next fight, we have a heavyweight bout between Daniel, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Omielanczyk and Jargis Danho. Polish fighter versus a Syrian fighter. Jargis Danho is 6-0, and Daniel O is actually 17-5. And the thing about this fight that is kind of intriguing to me is we have a really Danho is an extremely quick and extremely freakishly athletic wrestler and striker. The guy closes the distance very quickly, and he has kind of a similar fighting style to Tim Boesch, where he likes to kind of bully guys up against the cage. He tends to kind of grab the back of the head and just fire uppercuts and knocks guys out. He fights out of Germany, Nuremberg, Germany. He's 6'2", 266 pounds, so he's right at the limit. He has 6 wins by KO, finished all of his wins, 4 of them being in the first round. So he just has this bullying kind of fighting style where he smothers guys, doesn't let them move around a whole lot. He's a very good grappler, deceptively fast, good head movement and feints, very quick reaction to actual strikes. So he doesn't get hit a whole lot, but he likes the dirty boxing. And he's just I think that this guy's going to be too much for Omielanczyk to handle. And Omielanczyk's been he's had issues with being taken down. And so I think that there's going to be some issues here. I think he's easy to take down for the most part. I think that he does have good speed, and he has some, he's a super heavyweight Polish champ in Wushu Sanda. So he's got that kickboxing experience, that Polish kickboxing experience that all the Polish fighters seem to have. He's the 3-time Polish Muay Thai champ. He's coming off of a first-round TKO of Chris De La Rocha. He's going to be a little bit fast. Well, I would argue that he's going to be the faster fighter. He's a smaller fighter here. Doesn't necessarily mean he's faster. He's got a 74-inch reach advantage. Actually, I think these guys have similar reaches. Fights out of Warsaw, Poland. He was a Bushido champion and a 2-time MMA tournament champ in Ukraine, with 9 first-round finishes. An interesting stat about him, though, is that he's actually never been stopped in a fight. So he's got a good chin. And he has 9 wins by submission, so he is able to submit guys as well. Both these guys are pretty well-rounded mixed martial artists. I think the experience advantage goes to Omielanczyk here. And Danho, I think, is going to be too much for him to handle, though. I really feel like he's going to have the upper hand here. The odds are pretty even, but if you've seen film on this guy, he is a monster. And the only thing that I'm not sure about, his cardio looks like it's good. He didn't really fade too much in the later parts of the first round in a lot of his fights. In second round, he seemed like he's good for cardio as well when it did actually go to the second round. But, the thing is with this guy, I think he's just too big, and I think he's too strong and too fast. And so my pick here is for Jarvis Danho to defeat Daniel Omielanczyk by KO. Moving on to the next fight, we have Norman Parke versus Rustam Tiger Khabilov from Dagestan. So we've got an Irish fighter versus a Dagestani fighter. Both these guys have pretty impressive records. 22-4 for Norman Parke. Rustam Khabilov has 17-3 record. Both very well-rounded mixed martial artists. Khabilov, for a while, I know, was training at Jackson Wink MMA in New Mexico. I'm not sure if he's still training there or not. I believe he is. Norman Parke is training out of Ireland. And both these guys are lightweights. Khabilov has some extensive experience. He's actually fought against several very tough opponents, Benson Henderson, Smooth Henderson, and several other very elite mixed martial artists. So, but he's also kind of come short of that elite level. He did get TKO'd by Henderson. So he's kind of hit that threshold in the UFC where hasn't been able to get past, certain people. Norman Parke's kind of in the same boat, though. He definitely has a great record, and he's a very intelligent fighter. Both these guys are very intelligent fighters. Don't like to take too many risks. Both of them aren't, I wouldn't say, KO artists by any means. They're more technical than anything. Khabilov having more grappling advantages, and Norman Parke having a little bit more of an advantage on the feet. Both these guys move very well. Both of them usually have very good strategy. So this is a very close fight for me to call. I'd have to go with Khabilov here with a little bit of a wrestling and sambo-based background. But Norman Parke's been he's improved quite a bit on his offensive wrestling. So, and he also throws more. So I would give the striking advantage to Parke, like I said, and the wrestling advantage to Khabilov. I think that I think Parke's got really good takedown defense. He's got an 88.89% takedown defense rating. And I think he's going to be able to stuff most of Khabilov's takedowns. If Khabilov gets him on the ground, he could get some pretty good ground and pound on Parke. But Parke's a master at getting back up on his feet quickly and not suffering any damage on the ground or having to take his back, being on his back. So, my prediction here is for Norman Parke to defeat Rustam Khabilov by decision. With that being said, though, anything can happen in these fights. And, Khabilov's definitely worth a look as an underdog. play, but I'm going with Parke here. Moving on, we've got Bradley Scott, Krzysztof Jotko. Both these guys, it's striker versus striker matchup. Both of them have pretty impressive records. Both of them train in Muay Thai. Krzysztof Jotko actually has a grappling advantage in that he trains at a TriStar with under Firas Zahabi. He has a 77-inch reach, and he's actually a middleweight. And Bradley Scott is actually a welterweight that moved up to middleweight. So, but he's still a big fighter. But definitely a size advantage would go to Krzysztof Jotko here. He's the grappling advantage to him as well. Brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's coming off of 2 wins, Toro Troing and Scott Askham, another big middleweight. He's got excellent takedown defense at 89.19%. Very difficult to take down. So Bradley's not even going to have a chance on the ground, even if he gets it there. He's out. He's definitely going to be out grappled there by Jotko. Bradley is a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has Jotko is a tall, lanky fighter, and he's very rangy, very technical striker, very crisp, technical striker with good knees, wicked elbows. He's very effective with elbows, similar in a way that Matt Brown's effective with his elbows up against the cage. He can throw those really good short elbows that really do a lot of damage. He's really good with short knees too. When he's got guys backed up against the cage, gets them right to the solar plexus, pretty easily and quickly. Very efficient fighter, the best word that I could describe him as. He's probably got a little bit less power than Bradley Scott. Bradley Scott probably throws a little bit harder. And he's probably got, he's got a little bit stronger as far as boxing skills are concerned, like English traditional boxing, but he also has a Muay Thai background as well. But Bradley Scott definitely throws with a little bit more power, I would say. Jotko's more of a technical striker. But yeah, I think that I really like Jotko here, even though Bradley Scott, he's had some good showings. He's got very good balance and takedown defense as well. Good cardio for the most part. The problem between the two of these guys, it says that Bradley Scott lands, 3.44 strikes per minute. Jotko is a 2.62. Jotko's probably a busier striker, though, in my opinion, because Bradley Scott doesn't throw a whole lot of combinations. He throws single shots, single punches, single jabs. He doesn't really jab too much. He just throws a lot of single hard shots. And if he worked his combinations more, I think he'd be a lot more effective. In his last fight with Claudio Silva, he got taken down quite a bit. So I'm very confident that if Jotko was getting beat up on the feet here, which I doubt is going to happen. But if it does get, kind of dominated on the feet, he has the option and the ability to be able to take this fight to the ground rather easily. If Claudio Silva can get Scott to the ground, Krzysztof Jotko could definitely get him to the ground. So I'm very confident on that. And he does, Scott tends to fade in later rounds, whereas Jotko has that really good conditioning from being at TriStar. So my pick here is to go with Krzysztof Jotko to defeat Bradley Scott by TKO. Next fight, we have Arnold Allen versus Yalcin Meza. This fight is Arnold Allen has one fight in the UFC. He's English prospect, 10-1 MMA record. He has 50% KO TKO. In his fights, 50% of them end in TKO, TKO. He's got a pretty good, well-rounded MMA experience, coming off of a performance of the night submission win over Alan Omer in the 3rd round. The things that I like about this guy, he's very aggressive. He's got really crisp striking. He has some nice, legit power. Good boxing, very good boxing. He's got a nice straight left. Likes to use a lot of uppercuts when he has guys up against the cage or has them in trouble, which is tended, people get finished quickly that way. He has that legitimate KO power, though, in that left of his. Very powerful for his size, anyway. Um, he has a Gracie Barra purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he does have the ability to fight on the mat and get submissions as well. He holds 2 amateur boxing titles, so he does have that good boxing experience. He's won 5 times by KO, and he's submitted 3 times, so rather well-rounded. He's definitely a young fighter, but he just keeps improving every time he fights. Yaltsin Mensah has an experience advantage over Allen. Fights out of the MMA lab with the likes of Benson Henderson and several other very tough MMA fighters. He is originally a bantamweight that moved up to featherweight. He cut weight down to bantamweight, and then he's having issues with weight cuts. Came back up to featherweight. He's originally a wrestler in high school. Took 3rd place at Arizona State Championships his senior year. So he has wrestling experience. Also has, from being an MMA lab, some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience. I'm not sure that he actually has a belt, but he definitely has that MMA wrestling and grappling. Coming off a loss to Sam Sicilia. So kind of rounding the corner here with his MMA career, and a lot of question marks with him as far as, his durability. Doesn't have the best takedown defense. So I'm very confident in Arnold Allen here. You can't count out Yaltsin Mensah out of any fight, though, with just about any opponent. But I give the advantage here to Arnold Allen. I think he's going to be a little bit more athletic here, and he's just he's got some really good striking. So my pick here is for Arnold Allen to defeat Yaltsin Mensah by TKO. Moving on to the next fight, we have Scott Askham versus Chris Dempsey. Askham, the hometown hero here, popular with the local circuits in the past. He was involved with Cage Warriors and BA MMA. He has a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Victor Estrina. He's 13-2. He's coming off of a split decision loss to Krzysztof Jotko, which is not an easy fight, in my opinion. He KOs 62% of the time in his fights. I like this guy. I think he's got good mat experience, good grappling. He's well-rounded. Doesn't submit a whole lot of guys. He likes to stand more and trade, kind of like a technical brawler style. Very, good striking, lots of power, good Muay Thai. He's very tall, too. He has a 75-inch reach. For middleweight, that's pretty darn good. So he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage over Chris Dempsey. Chris Dempsey's going to have to find a way to close the distance. He's a wrestler, grappler that likes to grind out decisions. And I just don't think that's going to be a good idea here with a guy like Askham. I think Askham's going to be able to stop his takedowns. Askham's been able – it says that he has a 50% takedown defense, but he actually has – I would say he has a little bit more decent takedown defense than what, the statistics say here. Dempsey's never been super amazing at getting guys taken down. I mean, you can see right here, he averages about 2.51 takedowns and at a 23% accuracy rate. So the guy, he hasn't adapted his wrestling all that well to mixed martial arts, and he's not really that great on the feet. I mean, he's got some heavy shots, heavy hands, but I would say that the more technical, the better striker here is Askham by far. And I just see this one ending pretty violently. And I'm going to go with Scott Askham to win this one by TKO. Chris Dempsey's been knocked out in 2 of his last 3 fights. So there's some major chin issues there that, he may just be done. His chin may be done with MMA. It's hard to say, but that's not good if he's getting knocked out that much. So, and I see it happening again here. So Scott Askham by TKO, probably 1st or 2nd round. Next fight, we have Davy Grant versus Marlon Vera. And Davy Grant, I enjoyed watching him. He's actually one of my Twitter followers. Retweeted me one time. Awesome guy. Really cool. I just love this guy. He's a family man. And I gotta love the accent too. But he was on Team Rousey. He's a finalist on The Ultimate Fighter. And he lost by submission to Chris Holdsworth. who is a team alpha male, grappler and a pretty decent striker. Holds a 9-2 record. Most of his wins coming by submission, but this Davy Grant has some wicked striking power. I think he's going to have the advantage on the feet. I'm not so sure he's going to be able to catch Rivera with a lot of stuff because Rivera's very quick and he has some decent boxing as well. Both of these guys have very similar significant strikes landed per minute. Davy Grant's slightly better. They absorb about the same amount of punishment, about 2 strikes absorbed per minute. A little bit better defensive strike, a little bit better striking defense goes to Davy Grant, probably from his boxing experience. But Vera is decent as well on the feet. Much better takedown defense for Marlon Vera at 81.82%, and he averages quite a bit more submission attempts than Davy Grant. Davy Grant has been vulnerable to submissions in the past. I believe both of his losses actually came by submission. One of them on the Ultimate Fighter. And I just want to make sure here. But he did get submitted by Chris Holdsworth in round 2. And he has 7 first-round finishes. But he does have Muay Thai experience as well as boxing experience. This one's a tough one for me to call. I think these guys are pretty evenly matched. I think Marlon Vera is very slick with the submissions. So I think this guy, he's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He was also an Ultimate Fighter contestant with Team Verdum. 5 wins by submission, 1 by KO. He's finished 4 of his fights in the first round. The big thing with him, he was winning, and he actually had to pull out of the Ultimate Fighter because of a skin infection. So who knows how far he would have gone with that. He could have even won it. But I think here, this one's going to be pretty even match. I think that if it stays on the feet, Grant could land a couple hard shots. But I just see this one somehow getting to the mat. I see Marlon Vera just being a little bit more crisp, as far as his striking, being a little bit faster and being able to kind of get this one to the ground and possibly lock in a sub or a leg lock or something slick. The guy is just like a snake to me. I think he's very intelligent. And I think he's going to get a submission here. So my prediction here, going out on a limb here, I think Davy Grant's probably coming in as a favorite. But I think Marlon Vera is going to get this one done by, not TKO, via submission. Next fight, we have Mike the Warrior Wilkinson and Makwan Amirkhani. Both these guys, very tough fighters. This one I'm actually looking forward to very much. Mike Wilkinson is an English fighter. Submissions wrestling is kind of his forte, but he has a 9-1 record, fights out of England. He has a 38-inch reach. He's actually a contestant on the Ultimate Fighter Smashes. Now, he had some major issues with injuries over the years. He's been very unlucky, but his lone loss came to Hani Jason by a triangle sub, which was kind of it was kind of a weird fight. He got triangle submitted, which, obviously was a disappointment for him. So hopefully he's rebounded off of that. He's coming off of actually a brutal KO of Nicholas Backstrom. So definitely shown his ability to finish fights on the feet. And he actually was going to fight Alan Omer, back in June, but he actually had to pull out because of a shoulder injury. So this guy suffered for some injuries and had some kind of unlucky happenings. But he's a very good fighter. Very impressed with what I saw on tape with this guy. And he's actually the hometown favorite here. But in comparison, we've got a guy who's a submissions wrestler against a guy who is literally he was born to wrestle. Makwan Amirkhani is a Finnish fighter, nicknamed Mr. Finland. He's got a 12-2 record, featherweight, and he's got a 72-inch reach advantage. So he's definitely He's got about 4 inches on Mike Wilkinson. He has 75% of his wins by submission, averages about 8 takedowns per fight. He's got an extensive wrestling background in freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Also trains Muay Thai at Turku Muay Thai in Finland. And he's been training in wrestling since the age of 4. Also trains occasionally at SBG in Ireland. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he's interesting stat here. He's had 800 wrestling matches during his over 800 wrestling matches during his lifetime. This guy is at a very high level grappling here. Probably could be an Olympian. I don't know why he did not do that, but he's won several cups in wrestling. So very, very strong wrestler. Definitely going to be outmatched here. Mike Wilkins is going to be outmatched here by this guy. And I think this guy's going to lock in a sub rather quickly if it goes to the ground. As far as striking, Amirkhani's got really good striking as well. He's got an 85% accuracy if you compare the two of these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he's coming in as an overwhelming favorite. I haven't even taken a look at the odds here, but I'm definitely going with my prediction to be Makwan Amirkhani to defeat Mike Wilkinson either by TKO or submission, and probably pretty quick. I'd like to see Mike Wilkinson get a win here, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Amirkhani's just too tough of a fighter here. And so, that's going to be my prediction. Makwan Amirkhani defeat Mike Wilkinson by submission. I'd say second round. I think he might be able to make it through the first round. Moving on, Francisco Rivera versus Brad One Punch Pickett. Francisco Rivera, what we have here is a crazy brawler versus a technical boxer. Both these guys do like to throw heavy leather. Francisco Rivera likes to throw haymakers. But both these guys definitely have the ability to knock people out. And they have also been knocked out themselves. So I could see this one being a fight of the night candidate, possibly. If it doesn't go to ladies and Mousasi or Silva and Bisping. This one could definitely have the potential for that, especially being in England. I think that the crowd is going to be going nuts here with Brad Pickett. This one's kind of a tough one for me to call. I think Brad Pickett's going to probably come into this fight. It's hard for me to say how his chin is going to be. This one's a tough one for me to call because Francisco Rivera has been really hot with his hands. He's got heavy hands, and he somehow finds a way to land that, his hooks that knock guys out. And I could see him getting lucky and landing one on Pickett and knocking him out cold. I don't know why I can see that happening, even though Pickett's probably a little bit more technical than Rivera. Rivera also has better takedown defense, but Pickett has some good offensive wrestling. So I think that if Pickett gets rocked, I think he has the ability to definitely take Rivera down and get him down. I think Rivera is going to be throwing a lot more than Pickett. Pickett's going to probably be a little bit tentative due to the fact that he doesn't want to get knocked out. And he's going to probably play this one a little bit more carefully and have a little bit more pressure on him being at home. I'd like to take Pickett here as an underdog. I think he's probably going to be an underdog. But I think Francisco, for some reason, I feel like Francisco Rivera is going to get a TKO here. So, I'm going with Francisco Rivera to defeat Brad Pickett by TKO. Probably not very good odds on that. Next fight, we have Tom Breeze versus Keita Nakamura. I'm going to be completely honest here. I haven't looked at a whole lot of film on either of these guys. I don't know a ton about them, but I have been reading up on them quite a bit. Had some interesting stuff that I found out about these guys. Breeze is actually undefeated. Got 100% takedown defense and a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Firas Zahabi. So he is a tri-star MMA fighter, or at least part-time tri-star. He's a British junior champion in freestyle wrestling, and he is also the former BAMMA or BAMMA welterweight champ. He's got 6 wins by sub and 3 by KO. So he's a well-rounded mixed martial artist, but it tends to like to get fights more to the mat, probably due to his original background and base in freestyle wrestling. Keita Nakamura, on the other hand, an older, more seasoned mixed martial artist from Japan. He's got almost 40 fights underneath his belt, 31 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws, 1 no contest. Likes to get guys to the mat as well. Likes to submit guys. Most of his wins coming by submission. He's actually on a 5-fight winning streak, all of which have been finishes. He's coming off of 2 UFC wins of Li Jianlang and actually Adriano Martins, which to me is pretty impressive. So this guy's no joke, not a guy that you want to sleep on here. Doesn't really have an advantage on the feet, though. It's gonna be pretty evenly matched, I think, on the feet, if not probably a little bit more of an advantage to Tom Breese due to the fact that he actually throws about twice as much, and he has about twice as much accuracy on the feet. As far as takedown defense, I'd say Tom Breese is probably going to defend just about all the takedowns of Nakamura. Nakamura has also got pretty good takedown defense too. So I have a feeling that this one may just stay on the feet, and it might just be Tom Breese just teeing off on this guy, possibly getting a TKO. However, if it does go to the mat, there's definitely a possibility of either one of these guys to submit each other. I would say that Nakamura's probably got a little bit of an advantage there as far as submission skills, but wrestling base and top control is going to go to Tom Breese. So my prediction here on this one, I believe Tom Breese is going to get this one done on the feet. I think he's going to TKO Keita Nakamura because of the fact that he's not going to be able to get taken down. So I'm going to review some more film on it, but my initial lean here is to go with Tom Breese to win this one by TKO. And I do want to see more footage on this. Maybe worth an underdog play if the odds are really skewed or one-sided. So keep an eye on this one. Keep an eye on the line. Last 2 fights, we've got the co-main event here: Gegard Mousasi versus Thales Ladies, and the Iranian fighter versus Brazilian fighter. This one I'm actually really looking forward to. A buddy of mine, MMA Savant. He also has another YouTube channel that he operates. He helped me with my last card. We were very confident in our picks, and the card was shit. It just went to shit. But one of his bold predictions for 2016 is for Thales Ladies to actually be in the top. I believe it was the top 5 was what he was saying. And so I could see this one being an upset. I know that Gegard's coming in as a favorite here. Mousasi's got a black belt in judo and just very extensive kickboxing and boxing experience. He is a former light heavyweight that moved down to a middleweight. So he's actually a big middleweight. Thales Ladies is actually also a big middleweight as well, though. I'd say both these guys are great on the mat. Both of them have a lot of experience. Gegard Mousasi's gone up against black belts, no problem. Hector Lombard, I mean, he's been on the mat with Hector Lombard not Hector Lombard, Jacare. He's been on the mat with Jacare, who's considered one of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners, submissions artists. And he didn't have any issues. So I don't think that he's going to have any issues defending submissions here from Ladies. I think what could happen here is both these guys staying on the feet and striking. And I think power advantage definitely goes to Thales Ladies, whereas Gegard Mousasi is going to be more technical. Probably going to get the better on the feet here with as far as technical striking, being, that he's got a little bit more experience here with the kickboxing and he's more evasive. But I definitely think that Ladies here is actually a live dog. He's a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's coming off of a split decision loss to Michael Bisping. So really good boxers like Bisping have been able to get the better of him on the feet, just being more technical. So just from that aspect, I think Mousasi, especially after coming off a KO loss, I think he's going to be a little bit more tentative as far as taking risks, and he's going to definitely be watching his striking defense there, with the worry that maybe that the same thing could happen again to him. I think it was just a lucky KO that had happened. It was just kind of a fluke, but so this one's tough for me. I want to back Ladies here as an underdog, but I have to go with Mousasi. I think he's just an assassin, and I believe he's going to get the job done, probably by a decision. So that's my prediction. Gegard Mousasi to defeat Thales Ladies by decision. And the last fight, the one we've kind of been all been waiting for, that, you know, Michael Bisping has been wanting for a long time, is a matchup between Anderson Spider Silva and Michael the Count Bisping. Anderson Silva is coming off of a win over Nick Diaz, and in that showing, he looked decent to me. He didn't look like his normal self, though. Definitely was not taking risks and making, showy showboat type, moves and taunts like he normally does. So to me, this tells me that Silva is actually taking his fights a little bit more seriously. Not that he didn't before, but he definitely got a little bit cocky and left his chin out there to get tagged. And he probably has learned from that experience. And so he's trying to get himself back up into contention. To me, I don't think he's going to be taking a whole lot of risks here with Bisping, being that Bisping throws a lot of significant strikes. Silva is a precision striker. Bisping is more of a technical striker and volume striker. Very good boxing. Silva knows this coming into this matchup. Both these guys have excellent takedown defense. Silva has a little bit more offensive Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Both these guys have similar reaches. Actually, excuse me, Silva actually has a much larger reach advantage. He has a 5-inch reach advantage over Bisping. Both of these guys win the majority by TKO, TKO. A lot of people are backing Bisping here. I think that there's a possibility that Bisping could get a KO of Anderson Silva, but more than likely not. I think that there's a chance that Bisping could get a decision win. But I see Anderson Silva just being more precise with his strikes, and I see him getting a TKO of Bisping. I think Bisping has chin issues. He's shown that he's been knocked out before by Henderson and in the past, and he's also had issues with getting hit hard by other fighters and getting rocked. I see Bisping here also. He had that eye problem where he had the injury to his eye, and I could, Silva's not a dirty fighter like that, but I could definitely see a head kick, causing another problem with swelling of the eye. Who knows what could happen there? We could see it, the fight ending early if, he actually targeted that eye. I haven't looked into his eye health as far as, news or anything like that. Be kind of interesting to see how that has gone for him, with that surgery and, healing and whatnot. But yeah, we could see something weird happen in there for the fight to end early. But my prediction here, I think Anderson Silva is, definitely it's good for the business, for UFC business, for not that Bisping's not good for business, but I think Anderson Silva, a fight coming back up the middleweight ranks here. I think Silva's going to get another shot at a title at some point, and he's definitely probably a lot more motivated than he has ever been in his life. He's getting older, so it's kind of like the last call for Anderson Silva, but I think he's going to get the job done here. I think we're going to see another highlight reel KO of Michael Bisping, and I wouldn't mind seeing him get knocked out, to be honest, but my prediction here is for Anderson Silva to defeat Michael Bisping by TKO. I'm going to go with third round TKO. So that about wraps it up here for our Fight Pass, UFC Fight Pass, UFC London predictions. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing our predictions on Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. And we will probably be co-hosting with MMA Savant again and possibly bringing on one other special guest who happens to be a boxer striker. We're still working out the details on that, but make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for sure and subscribe to our Twitter. We have several other social medias that you can follow us on. You can follow, we actually just started a group. It's a betting odds, UFC betting odds discussion group on Facebook. If you look further down our Twitter feed, you can find several links to that. I tweeted it several times. I'll tweet it again this week. And we're getting some really good discussions in there. We have about 100 people that are actively discussing odds. And we'd love to have as many people coming in there and just bouncing ideas off of each other's heads. So come in and be a part of the community. We've got a lot going on there, a lot of exciting stuff happening. We're working on our website still. I'm going to have a couple other things that we're going to be putting up on the website. But a lot's happening, and appreciate the following. Forgive us for the bad card that we had. We don't like losing, and we're coming back. We're going to rebound on this next card. So, stay tuned. Keep us on the radar. Make sure that you set us on alerts on your Twitter just before Saturday morning. That way you get all our plays for free. Everything's free. We want to keep it that way. That's our goal. We should be hosting a couple more videos regarding books and how to get signed up on these different internet books. So, stay tuned for videos there. But thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate the support. Give us a like and leave us a comment. If you have a disagreement, disagree with us. We love, devil's advocates out there. Give us a reason, though. Don't just, troll us. Leave us a comment. Please do share our videos, retweet us. We really appreciate it. The only reason why we've been so successful at getting a following is because of you guys. Give us a thumbs up on our video. We love the feedback. But yes, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay tuned and enjoy this weekend of fights on Fight Pass. Everybody have a good night. Thanks.